queen of nighttime radio, Akosua. Welcome.
Hi,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
I haven't seen you the whole of
I
this year.
know, you've been
Now
running
I'm
away
seeing.
from me. Good to see you.
Pleasure is mine, Hannah. And now I try any Ope communications expert whose father is very proud of us. Say, don't say Rachel, say Nache. So they know where you're coming from. That's your princess. How are
I see that one. I listen that anyway.
How are you?
I'm well, my sister.
Ladies, it's been an eventful week, and for many people, it's the first full week back at work since the holidays. I wonder what thoughts are occupying your minds these days. Should we start with
Cozy
will start. Okay.
Yes.
Pressure. Wow. I think not maybe a rant, but maybe another angle to look at a thing. We know the McNeil video at the Jubilee House was trending all over. And that was, for me, it's always a good time to study, culture, and what I was seeing was this is a descendant who has come back, and was now being taught he didn't know how to do things. He's doing things the way he's doing things. And by this kind of backlash, it's like being mentioned that, oh no, this is not how we do things. It started from how he's dressed. And if you're going to, the Jubilee House, to me, the president, there's a way you should dress, to show respect to the office, respect to the place. People are saying if you're going to the White House, would you dress that way? People have those stipulations. I necessarily don't have stipulations about the way people dress, but there's a way people want things to be done. And also, obviously, there is the controversy around. It's not even really it's not his fault. It's who allowed that footage to be shot. They have come, they've seen a thing, they are doing the thing that they'll do, and then do a video and show whatever. He even mentioned that they don't see things like this on TV back in America. And my time in the States, actually, I realized how very insulated and small-minded they are from the whole world. Their world is just their world. The way we get to news on Europe or America or Australia or Canada, they don't, they really insulate their mind. So I can understand that whole, wow, this is Ghana, this is, all of that. Anyway, the angle I wanted to draw in to this conversation was sometimes the way we spoke about him as an other or as a foreigner. I wanted us to, also think about this is a momentous time, right? Slavery is a very important part of our history. And because most times, there's not much study about it. Most of us think, oh, this is not us. We are very removed from it. But what's happening today is the descendants of the people that were taken from us several years ago, and there was over 11 million people, Africans, that were taken, and it was actually West Africans across the belt. These are their descendants coming back. And most importantly, McNeil actually has done the test and has found out that he's 18% Ghanaian, at least. So me, if I hear 18% Ghanaian, I'm taking this person as my brother, my Ghanaian has come back home. So I'm not going to have, if I'm going to talk in this way, I'm not going to otherize this person. It's something we should definitely, that's also part of the conversation we should see when we are talking about beyond the return. These are the things that we as Ghanaian citizens, also the kind of conversations we have, what it means for them to come back home. We talk about, I'm not a Christian, but the story about the prodigal son, right, where this one, he is waiting he is not waiting for his father to pass first. He wants his money. The father opened up his arms. In this case, was even who did anything wrong. They were from them, and by some chance they've come back. So opening arms to them, even if a person wants to meet them, for me, it's if it makes them feel good, it makes them feel like, oh, I've come back home, and they'll welcome me with open arms. That's something we should do. The only thing I'll say is the president should, I hope he's spreading this not just to the celebrities who come here, also but to other African Americans who've actually been repatriating to Ghana for a while now. We know recently some of them actually were given their Ghanaian citizenship. So it's just for us to think about this as Ghanaians, that they are coming back home now. What does it mean that these descendants are long lost brothers and sisters are coming home? And how do we welcome them? How do we speak about them? Because sometimes you also hear the way they say, oh, they don't like us in Africa, they do not like African Americans, they call us Akata, they call us whatever. These are the tensions. And I want us to, start to think in these ways about how to diffuse these tensions and look at it.
Quite a lot to unpack in one rant, Akosua. So there's all the cultural undertones and the inferences that come into this story. We are looking at a president of a country. That is not the president of, Tea Drinkers Association of GBC. This is the president of the Republic of Ghana. And the argument about what he was wearing, when Shatta Wale and other people were going to see our president, is it too much to ask that you want to do something? Ask the questions. So I admit that I'm 18% Ghanaian, but I don't quite know how things are done here. Can I have some advice? Should we set up an advisory at the presidency on top of all the staffers who are there, or allocate people who will groom these people and say that if you want to meet our president, if you want to come into this space, these are the expectations that will be required of you, so that they know? Because I'm sure you come at me with, but did somebody tell them they couldn't go to? It's a big conversation. I'm glad you're raising some of these issues, but the bit about the diasporans and how they are coming home and how we should make them feel welcome should not be done at the expense of other Ghanaians also feeling alienated, because how many Ghanaians can meet the president at Jubilee House?
I mean, facts, and that also is a big thing to raise, because Caleb Kuda, for instance, was City FM. We remember the situation he went through where he was actually abused, and he was doing his work as a journalist, so for that to even happen to him, and in his role as a journalist trying to get the public information, it also obviously raises a lot of questions. And then for this to be allowed in this way, but like you're saying, I guess it's the Diaspora Affairs Office. I think they released a statement that they didn't know, or they said, I saw a statement somewhere, I don't know, that they didn't know that they were going to use that footage. And actually, if you see the footage, it wasn't like they brought cameras. What is someone's phone camera footage? So it's like, I'm here, I'm chilling, and then before I realize, the person has come to edit things and made it some music
but
video.
we've been to the seat of government once or twice, and it's not a place where photography is allowed. And perhaps that's where the backlash is coming from, that if I, whose only passport is the ECOWAS One Ghana, would be allowed into that space, it would be on condition that I do not use my cameras. So if I, the citizen whose taxes are being used to finance the office, if I, the citizen whose individual bonds are being restructured in a debt exchange program, are being used to take care of the expenses of this country, is not allowed that level of access, why should somebody who has one passport, one foreign passport, even though they are 18% Ghanaian, be given those privileges which I, the citizen, is denied?
I'll say don't focus on the 1/8%. Because he's Ghanaian. Once he was able to trace his rate, and I definitely understand you. I just my only thing is, it's going to take some work, but let's do the understanding of, I, the citizen, this is that. I understand that difference, because there is that difference, but this is where, because of this, has raised a conversation. Therefore, we now know, like when they come here, these are the protocols. This is how you do things. The same way when you go to a place, they'll teach you how to do things. You don't do that. That's basically, and even Meek Mill released a statement apologizing. And he himself said, even when people were trying to excuse him, he said no. I
if it's
didn't
important
know
to
this.
the people,
yes, exactly. So you see
matter.
how he is also doing that reach, giving that grace. All I'm just saying is that kind of grace in our conversation. Yes, you are right. But the way people were talking about it on Twitter, the way people, the kind of language and the otherization, no, that's a grace we should give them. It's grace that where they are with police brutality is not given them, and where they are is because of the truncation from their land, So that's what I'll say.
Kudos to Meek Mill. This next time, don't wear shorts to see our president. We want to wear suits and things. Okay. But I think that the team, they made quite a few appearances across town, and they met a few artists, and I'm sure talks on collaborations are ongoing.
Yes.
We want to encourage these things because we want to see a Ghana beyond aid, a Ghana where the arts sector flourishes and where the art sector is relevant on the international stage.
Yes.
And some of these things make that possible. We are making Ghana the December destination of the world. And all these things matter in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah, thank you for the rant, Akosua. It's brought up all these issues. It's time we had those conversations. And perhaps we'll know how best to manage these situations when they do come up later. Nah?
Right. And
Make
so,
meal.
I think Akosua is the expert.
Okay.
Of course, she said, what more can
Please,
I say? What can I say?
Whom ham high.
What more can I say? And
What's your rant?
Okay, not really a rant, but I want to talk about sexual and gender-based violence. And so, Thelma, you see, we have actually, I think as a country, you're trying to build whether it's a patriarchal society, if that's the word. And so to forbid, for example, men from crying, from talking about all the emotions, or from expressing their emotions. I was said because you see, when we talk about sexual and gender-based violence, sometimes you are tempted to think that it is only women who go through it. It may be a majority of women going through it as compared to men. But then also we should give people the room to express how they feel. And so it shouldn't be a pat on the shoulder to men to see that we are building a patriarchal society for them where they have a kind of dominance, and to say that, okay, so we are domineering over women. I think really we should have like a gender transformative approach kind of thinking where men should see that, well, if we are able to also speak against sexual and gender-based violence, if we're able to come up against it, we are building a Ghana where people will live in dignity, people will live in peace, and go about their duties. Now, you see, sometimes people want to either perpetuate or condone sexual and gender-based violence. It is a crime to perpetuate as equal as it is also a crime to condone. And so I'm telling our viewers this morning that don't keep quiet when someone sexually abuses you, emotionally abuses you. You're facing deprivation of one form or the other. Speak up. See, don't do we would bury you. Speak up, whether you are male or female. You speaking up after suffering sexual and gender-based violence as a man does not in any way make you less of a man. And when we preach submission for women, we are not saying that, so stay in that relationship or stay in that environment and lose your life. There is help when you call 0800 20 20 10 at the Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana. It's toll free, so you won't be charged. Or better, so you can WhatsApp us 0245 118 228. There is help at the Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana.
Thank you. I think the men, are usually relegated when the conversations about violence and gender-based violence are had. But I know men who would benefit a lot from counseling, which is offered at the PPAG. And I know men who would also benefit from shelters, because there are women who are breadwinners of families, and men get thrown out and they have nowhere to go. And these stories are not a lot out there, but they do exist.
And Thelma, you see, sometimes I think as a country also, we've not come to look at the implications on us. Nationally. Imagine a man or a woman going through sexual and gender-based violence, have gone through one thing or the other, and then reports to work. We are looking at how that even impacts productivity. So the person just makes appearance at the office and does nothing. And simply because you see the person, going about, but you think that then the person is actually being productive. The person is not. So it affects productivity. Even seeking health care, whether you have bruises, whatever it may be. The cost of it on the pocket of the victim or the survivor, I should say. And so let us speak up. And I think Ghana would be a better place.
I see Akosua nodding, just agreeing with all this.
You're singing joy to my ears. Thank you for preaching this morning.
The activism on the table is massive. But ladies, the stories of the day, can I bring your attention? I'm sure your attention is on it as well. And as we are the female panel, perhaps the gender undertones may come to play here, but some students have been dismissed, and we'll talk about that later. Let's quickly run through some of the stories in the Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times today. We're seeing the Daily Graphic on our screens now. Government Labour agreed 30% pay increment, and Labour is very happy with that. COLA ends in December, and then this one is supposed to take effect from this month. 30 OMC's licenses revoked for flouting NPA regulations. That story is also on page 16 of the Daily Graphic. Two students sue Association International School over transcripts Page 16, association will no doubt will have a response to that in court. The Ghanaian Times also dedicating its banner headline to the OMCs. The paper says have landed in trouble, 30 of them, as NPA revokes licenses for non-compliance with rules, regulations. There's also a story on the Global Fund allocating $234 million to Ghana to combat 3 diseases. That's on page 11 of the Ghanaian Times. And yesterday, the president bid farewell to the late Cardinal in Wa. There's also an opening and inauguration of an $8 million one-stop shop automotive development center, and that's just across the street from the STC yard in Accra near the Awudome Cemetery. And so Trade Minister pictured there, or the outgoing Trade Minister Alan Chemating pictured there. Remember, he's thrown his hat in the race to be flag bearer of the NPP. Also on page 3 of the Ghanaian Times, Caprice robbery case, 4 accused plead not guilty. Also details in the Ghanaian Times. So these are some of the stories that have made headlines in the papers today. But it is page 41 of the Daily Graphic where we'll be turning our attention, and I'll bring this, the matter up to you, ladies. 8 students of Chiana Senior High School have been dismissed for using unsavory language in a video that has since gone viral on social media. The Ghana Education Service paper says on page 41 has summarily dismissed 8 second-year students of the Chiana Senior High School in the Kasina Nankana West District in the Upper West region for insulting President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in a video. The affected students in a viral video allegedly misconducted themselves and used vulgar and unprintable language or words which were directed at the president in November of last year. So subsequently, the students were identified and suspended, and their parents were invited to assist in investigations to unravel the circumstances surrounding the utterances. And the GES says the video is against educational and moral principles in the society, and assure the public that the outcome of investigations into the incident will be made public as soon as possible. So there's been a dismissal letter issued for the 8 students, and then came another video pleading for mercy with justice. What do we think?
Anyway, so Thelma, see, the students have misconducted themselves. The students have erred in every sense of the word. I mean, that is indiscipline at play. In as much as we all admit, okay, that there is the need to call these students to order, there is the need to discipline them for their indiscipline. I feel and I think that the discipline must be reformative. You know, it must reform them, and not necessarily to kind of inflict pain on them. I heard a deputy PR for the Ghana Education Service say that, so they've actually sacked them from the Ghana Education Service.
They removed their names.
Removed, of course, you've sacked them from GES. So I was thinking that, okay, so maybe they could go private, but it is still the Ghana Education, whether you are writing private or you are writing public, it is still the Ghana Education Service. And so if you've taken their names out, what is their fate now?
I would want to see clarity on that, like I was
what does it
asking.
mean?
What does it mean if their names have been taken off the GES register? So they are no longer recognized as students by the GES.
So
what does that mean in effect? So that's a conversation we would want to continue having. But then NA is of the view that it is too punitive and perhaps regressive. Is that what you're saying?
So what I'm saying is that you should, in as much as you want to discipline them, don't for example shut down their lives. And these are students that you could tell that parents can't. So if their parents were very renowned people who could afford, of course you take their names from Ghana Education Service and they go to another country's education service to seek education. It's education at the end of the day. But like I say, as we wait for clarity, don't shut down the lives of these girls. Now also, I think as people, we're also interested in what exactly did the investigations reveal.
GES says it will make it public.
So we are waiting. I'm thinking you should have made it public before announcing. Then we all know that, okay, oh, this is what the students, of course, this is what the investigations reveal. But bear in mind, Thelma, and these students, like we say, a reflection of what we all do. See, very grown individuals in this country, politicians and non-politicians, when they have access to media, what do? Whether on their social media handles, whether on television, whether on radio, what do they say? Which words having people said in this country? So these kids are living by the examples that we have set for them. And so whilst we try to check these girls, let us also check ourselves.
One of a father, I think a relative, a male relative of one of the girls, said they come from a good home where discipline is highly, encouraged, and that none of them condone any such behavior. He blamed it on peer pressure. You work with young people at PPAG. To what extent can we blame peer pressure for this? You're saying society should blame itself for this, but the peers are part of society.
The peers are part of society. What I'm saying is that beyond even the peers, we that are not even peers to them, we have set examples for them, and that is what they are also sharing among themselves as peers. Whether Sika Mpedede, whatever was said, I'm sure they listened to some analysis somewhere and heard something. What is the appreciation of Sika Mpedede? The appreciation of it was all the analysis that all the things that they heard, for example, on social issues, we should also be careful that the younger generation, they are watching. And so you are punishing these people today by dismissing them. What having people said in past and current governments? And they still stay in office. I mean, they insult president. And of course, they get promotions. And these people, you are saying that we've taken their names out of course, they have erred. We are saying that. But we are on bent knees. And I think at this point, it is not really to say that, okay, President Akufo-Addo will come back and then, come and tell GES to call them.
We are hearing that the president has made a call on the Ghana Education Service to bring them, to show some mercy.
It brings finality to the matter.
We are not able to verify that claim as at now, but we are reaching out to our sources to see if there is a confirmation. So the news coming in, we are hearing that President Akufo-Addo is asking GES to be merciful to the 8 girls dismissed from the China Senior High School for the comments they made last November about his person. Unprintable words, we all agree. So does that make it any better if we do get confirmation that the president has made the call?
Yes, of course. We need them to complete the education. At least minimum secondary school for someone is fine. I'm looking at even the trauma they and their parents would have gone through from November up until now. It is peer pressure. And I'm not saying so because of it is peer pressure, it is justified. But this also should be a lesson to, all of us, secondary school students, tertiary students. See, everybody will do that one thing, eh? Just you alone, you go and do it, and you find yourself at the wrong side. You should know where you are coming. Now they are saying, and our parents can't afford to, take us to, and you should have appreciated all this before putting the phone, on and saying that, the words are bad.
You said they said their parents can afford to take us to what?
No, their parents
cannot afford to take them to private schools,
or to even fly them out of the country.
That's what they said in the
video. That's what
in
the apology video. Okay. And so, hopefully what we are hearing about the president should
I've seen the video of the girls on their knees, waving what I presume would be their dismissal letters, and basically pleading, calling on the same president that they insulted to, speak to the people to take them back. And it's quite sad because we want a morally decent society. At the same time, we all know that all of us are not 100, and we pass it on unknowingly or knowingly to the next generation. Akosia, what are your thoughts? I want to pick your initial reactions to this particular story, and then we'll be back to continue. I'm reading a statement from the Ministry of Education right now, so the confirmation that we were looking for. I'm seeing a statement now signed by Mr. Kwesi Kwarteng, who's the spokesperson for the Ministry of Education, and it's titled, President Intervenes in Disciplinary Action Taken Against 8 Students of China Senior High School. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has intervened in the above subject after his attention was drawn to it. Consequently, the Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, has directed the Ghana Education Service to consider an alternative disciplinary action instead of dismissal. So this is the release that we've just chanced upon this morning, a few moments ago, with the president intervening, calling for mercy, another disciplinary action. So dismissal, extreme. Now has said it. President seems to feel the same way. What should have been the line of action, do you think, Akosua? Because you're a gender activist, you're a girl-child activist as well. What should have been the way forward?
I agree 100% with everything that Na said, everything that she said. This raises a conversation about what punishments and discipline should look like in societies. Should punishments and discipline be for the purposes of creating pain, or pain for pain's sake, or is punishment or discipline for purposes of reformation? And definitely these girls are high school students. So first of all, they are teenagers, right? And like Na said, this is not, they are just mimicking what populace.
And they said that they're actually mimicking voices on social media. All the things you hear on social media.
They actually said it. Yeah, and I mean, yes, they are teenagers. And we all know teenagers' brains are actually, they are fully grown in size, but are not fully developed in maturity. So therefore, the parts of the brain where emotional development, the part of the brain that takes decisions, is actually not fully developed. So if you think about certain things and fights you used to have as 17, 15, 16, even as at 21, it's when you now look at it back at 10 years later, you realize, why was I thinking this way? And it won't make sense to you. But that's how teenagers think. Like the logic doesn't always far. You get what I'm saying? I was talking to one of my young teenagers I mentor. He was saying something about he wanted to go and get something, but if I don't go and get this, the logic just didn't. And there's nothing you can say. But they're also adult minds, so at the same time, so it makes you get confused. So because of that, and because they are teenagers, that's why even I think Child Rights International even came in, to add their voice to this. That is why it's that type of punishment where you're going to dismiss them and they would not be able to go to school again. This will be a barrier in employment. This will be a barrier in earning potential. And then the gender angle. I mean, girls specifically, women specifically in a society in this way, they will be more, even have specific vulnerabilities in the sense that if they couldn't finish school, what else is going to happen? This is someone who's probably going to then have children. You're going to start a whole cycle of poverty in this way, So definitely, when we talk about punishments, I feel like we should now. I'm glad that the president has stepped in. I feel like the president even needs to step in. The president is the president. There's big issues they need to worry about. The GS and all of us, should think about what does punishment and discipline mean like in societies. I'm even going to try to even broaden this to conversations about stuff like death penalty. No matter what, even when a prisoner is sent to jail, there's a reason why a prisoner still has basic human rights. A human being, you can't just throw them away in society. They are still in the society. It's the same way we think about, this is just, I don't need this rubbish anymore, let me just throw it somewhere. It's still going to be
Yesterday
in our environment.
I had one of my colleagues saying we cannot throw the baby out with the bath water. And I guess it's along the same lines that you're speaking. Yeah. I just wonder, when we say the letter, for example, is saying other disciplinary measures, what are we looking at?
Reformative.
You could just deboardinize them. Of course, you take them out of the boarding school. So now it means that the boarding facility they are enjoying, of course, their parents will now have to get accommodation for them so that they are coming to the school. You could also, for example, I don't know if that works in senior high schools, but at the university level, you could just, defer the person's academic year. And so the person would have to write the final exams this year. You are taking the person maybe to next year. That aside, there are other forms of punishment. There is, of course, weeding. There's, keeping a few things that they could do. Someone will compare weeding or scrubbing to the kind of words that they used in the video. But what I'm saying is that we shouldn't match it like that. It should be to reform. Sometimes you can go against the law, and the chief said, "Yebeka wenim," or that's not how they said. And then you get sober and you show that remorse. Sometimes words are even enough to reform.
So on the point of you know, we don't know. Yeah, it's just it's unprintable. Can we talk? I'm sure they know, but largely this reaction is to let them know that the things they said are not things that should be said about anybody, and against no mean a person, the President of the Republic. So yes, the punishment a bit over the top, according to some, and President agrees. But can we face the reality that these children, they said some pretty horrible things?
Yes. And so then reform, I would say even reformative punishment. For instance, if they were in my school, I'm now going to have a conversation or maybe do training on, you know, I don't know, on understanding society, understanding politics, how to talk in public. And for me, what I'm seeing is at their age, I didn't care about my society and politics and economy and stuff. So for me, I'm even going to give them a little bit of some, you know, a plus, because these are teenagers who are not just caring about partying the way I was doing, but are caring about our society and economy. So for instance, someone like this, I'm definitely gonna have them in a class talking about, you know, how to properly exercise free speech, how to properly analyze societal issues, and then come and how to also criticize. What they are trying to do is an exercise in accountability, is it not? They are trying to hold maybe government accountable in a specific way, but this is how they did it, mimicking the wrong things. So therefore, I'm now going to teach, this is a big lesson, to teach these young teenagers how to also hold people to accountability in a way that it does not shoot you in the foot, but then makes the person that you're holding accountable hear you. This is a big, you know, this is not something you just throw away. Like I'm saying, at their age, I was thinking of just going clubbing and everything, but they are here thinking about the hardness of the economy.
You were clubbing at 50.
And you tell me, in school, it's not just about academic, it's not just about the books. Yes. Morality has a role to play, learning life skills, how to actually not really to vent your spleen and show anger unnecessarily.
So freedom of speech comes with responsibility for the speech.
So these are the lessons you teach. So
you have to teach them.
Have those classes. Maybe after school they are supposed to stay 2 hours afterwards to be reading these books, doing homework, writing essays, public speaking. Like these are for that, I see that as reformative punishment, because at the end they actually now change and become
like a detention class.
You know, like a detention class. But when I come out, it's not just because I was being punished to be away from everybody, but how's my mind changed now? What have I learned? They would even be better, because other people who have not spoken that way are not even in that class. You know?
Do you see the children ever being the same? Because this has been from the videos that we saw of them on their knees begging, crying. Do you see that affecting them in any way down the line? How is this going to, you know, look like in school when they return? Because everybody knows who they are. Even those who are not in the same school with them, we all know what they look like. What does it mean for them in future? Because we have to think about those things as well. Is it time to bring the counselors in?
Well, so I think it will take a while for them to get out of this trauma that they are going through now. But I also see an opportunity. You would end up seeing one of these girls, maybe one or two, molding into very, very, I don't know the word to use, but very
a model woman.
You know, a model woman. Thank you, sis. A model woman, because of this. Sometimes certain things have to happen for you to learn the hard way. And so for me, in as much as we are looking at the downside, I also see an opportunity. It will take a while, but I'm sure this has given them lessons enough that will take them along all the days of their lives.
But with the current school system that we have, as it remains, as I went through, as you went through, and maybe some of what you have experienced, do you see the school system adjusting in the positive way that you both are talking about? Because the school system that I remember, even after you've done something good, it's not the structures to reward you are not very clear. Once you go and look for matter, you're on a whole different. So the school structure itself treats you as a misfit.
So are you saying that the school does not reward good deeds?
Does the school have the structure to
reform
execute the reprogramming of the minds of these young people?
Yeah, I
Anyway.
think, sorry, I think that you're actually raising a very, very important point. I didn't really think about it, and I'm glad that you did raise it. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, for the generation today, they are being raised in a social media age where this has gone viral just
The internet will
because
never forget.
of the internet. You know, in our time, you can do these foolish things, and it's the people in school who know, or the people around you who know, the people in your circle who know. Now, for them, unfortunately, is blasted. So that then raises a conversation about raising children in this time and in this age where they can now be trending, you know, on social media, and social media as adults, an adult population too there. So what then does that mean? I feel like what you mentioned, I think you mentioned, would the school maybe have a counselor involved? That's something to think about, because
if the
this
school
is social
even has
media.
a counselor to begin with.
Yes, you know, so these are things to think about. It's very important, because even though they've done something wrong, what's happened is this has been blown to several scales because of this advent of social media. Otherwise, this type of trauma wouldn't have been that much in that way, you know. So in that light, definitely we should now start to think of that. Thank you for raising that.
And Thelma, I'm thinking that I think the school system now, now I think the schools are more bothered about academic results, and so they would want to teach the kids books, because of course you must make the grades and you must top. For example, you must get more A's, more B's. As to the moral aspects, reformation, life skills, I can't be too sure. I'm thinking that one has been left for maybe families to handle. But of course, these kids, maybe they respect their teachers more than their families, if that is what it is. And so we should look at what we teach these kids again. And so I have a friend lecturer at the university, and I tell him that, see, anytime you enter the classroom, take the first 10 minutes to make an impression that is not academic. You know, just pick on, it could be a national issue, get the views of these kids and try to refine their thinking in a way that you think would help them. It shouldn't be good morning class, let's begin
to page
no,
555.
it shouldn't be so. If we would all listen, I mean, take some time, you know, talk to them about things that are not book based. And of course, not every, you know, depths of knowledge really are not, it's not academic. It's not that chew and pour we want them to do and pass the exam. I think we should go beyond that.
Chew, pour, pass, and forget. You can get your voice heard at this table. Our WhatsApp number is 055-55-61034, 055-55-61034, or connect with us via our social media handles, GTV Ghana. This is the headline segment. I'm sitting with Akosua and Naatwe. We're looking at some of the stories that are making headlines in the newspapers and elsewhere. Ladies, as for government workers, they are smiling. Government has to now find 30% to pay the base. We'll be having a conversation with the CEO of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. What are some of the issues you'd want the CEO to address for you? I know that PPAG, not government. That's for queen of radio, you two.
I'm here to just listen.
So you're not getting the 30%.
Oh, Charlie.
Oh, no, I'll give you 1%.
Maybe that would be
1%.
Maybe that would
God
be.
is getting 10%. You are getting 10% of God's money.
I hear you.
Maybe that would be an example to private sector, and then maybe from next week you're also hearing yes, it should be an example.
Salary
to private-
negotiations ongoing at the breakfast table.
Louder.
We'll be sitting down with the CEO of Fair Wages. We'll be having that conversation a bit later, so perhaps we'll shelve this for now. But if you both drive or you buy fuel, any petroleum product, you would be concerned that some OMCs are actually flouting the NPA regulations, and the whip has been cracked. 30 of them have had their licenses revoked, and now they would have to work their way back into the good books of the NPA. The story is on the front page of the Daily Graphic. 30 OMCs licenses revoked. It's on page 16 of the Daily Graphic. The National Petroleum Authority has revoked the license of 30 oil marketing companies for breaching the rules and regulations governing the acquisition and maintenance of the licenses. In the public notice, the NPA, the regulator of the downstream petroleum industry, said the breaches included the non-payment of license fees and having at least 7 fuel stations, in addition to some technical requirements pertaining to the specifications of the design of the stations. So aside from that, the stations must have at least one of the following: a lube bay, a washing bay, a mat, a vulcanizing center equipped with air compressors, and air gauges. The OMCs must also provide evidence of local participation, that at least 50% shares were held by Ghanaian citizens. And some of the companies affected have been listed in that story. And the processes, we are told later, to revoke the licenses started in the middle of last year, leading to the temporary revocation of the licenses. So the members of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, in August last year, the chief executive of the MPA, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, cautioning that about 80 OMCs were dominant and also flouting the authorities' rules and regulations. So the alarm was sounded a bit earlier, giving them the opportunity to get their houses in order. It seemed that for some of them, that was not done. And so they realized, does it give you any sense of relief or satisfaction that some authorities are monitoring happenings in the OMC space, and they appear to be taking some actions to get the players to play by the rules?
And so, I mean, I'll thrive on the word you use, satisfaction. It does. But I think prior to this, I don't know if Akosua does, but I don't have an idea of, all these the rules they would have to, go by to operate, looking at having a loop bay. I mean, so you just walk in, drive in, for example, and then buy your fuel and then drive. And so this then comes to us as a relief. Of course, then the laws are working. As to how long they've had to, go against these laws before they would, they've been called to order. That's another conversation for another day.
Right.
But we'll just wish the authority well and to ask them to continue to do a good job and then keep watch over all of us.
Right.
Yeah, I was also surprised to know that, they have to have a lube bay, a washing bay, a mat, or a vulcanizing center. And these things are very necessary for me as a driver. I would not lie to you. Sometimes before I realize your tire is flat, and then if there's a fuel station that has, a vulcanizing center, this is easy. And there are certain areas that almost all the filling stations I see have, and there are certain areas that actually they don't. So now I'm realizing that they are actually supposed to all have either a mat or a vulcanizing center. So it's good to know that there are people doing the work.
And it gives us an idea of what to then look out for.
Exactly.
And who to report to if you come across some of these OMCs who are not complying by the rules. So quite a straightforward take on this subject. There was a foreign story in our news this morning from Nigeria, and I found that particularly fascinating. I would want us to pull it back.
10 girls?
No, this one was about police women and unmarried female officers who get pregnant.
Wow.
I would want the producers to put that story back on the screen, and then we'll get into it a bit later. We've talked about some of the stories that are making headlines. Do we want to share a few thoughts on the resignations by some cabinet members to pursue presidential ambitions? We are getting into the thick of the campaign season. The next couple of years would be very heavily dominated by political activities, crisscrossing the country, candidates canvassing votes, first for their own party primaries to get the nod to become, presidential candidates, flag bearer, parliamentarians for their parties. And two names have joined some of the names already in the pot for the NPP. We already knew that Engineer Kwabena Gyegyepong has stated intentions to run for the NPP primaries as flag bearer. Asin MP Kennedy Gyegyepong has also expressed desire to run that race. Now, the Agric Minister and Trade Minister have also recently tendered their resignation to pursue their presidential ambitions. Your thoughts on these developments over the past few days? I'll start with you, Akosua.
The non-political person is the person you start with.
Yep. So you can have a quick one. Leave it.
Okay, leave it to her. That makes sense.
Oh,
that makes sense. Smart. I mean, like I said last week, I'm really not invested in political parties. I've definitely always lost vim and trust in this whole political duopoly system. But all I'll say is, I'm definitely looking forward to the kind of conversations and things, their dreams and visions that they have for the country. And we as citizens would definitely try to hold them very Alan Chirmanting's speech, and there was something that actually called to me. He had this plan on the great transformational plan. Already, I like where we are starting the conversation with, laying out certain things he's going to plan. He's going to do under this great transformational plan. For me, a big one was on a new agricultural revolution. So over here has things like introducing technology and innovation into agriculture through research, agronomy, mechanization, irrigation, plantation management. Also, definitely enhancing the regime for lending and financing in the agricultural sector. We've been talking about the hardships currently in Ghana, and agriculture is actually going to be our biggest saving factor. You know, pushing more exports, less imports, all of that, producing our own food. Another thing I saw was what he said in the statement of the decarbonization and climate resilience, scaling up government's current efforts at reducing Ghana's carbon footprints and facilitating access to the carbon trading markets, as well as establishing mechanisms to strengthen the country's preparedness against the negative effects of climate change. For me, anyone bringing a conversation on climate change into their run for presidency is someone I'm also going to definitely listen to and want to hear what they have planned, because this is a big issue. You know, climate change, if people don't know, is the changes in weather patterns and temperature. This normally happens naturally. However, man-caused, climate change is rising, it's accelerating. And we've seen, even in Ghana, places that were flooded, the tidal waves, the sea coming further inland. This means we are going to, especially us on the coast, people are going to be losing their homes soon. We don't know what's going to be happening. So any presidential candidates who is thinking that far, I'm glad that these conversations are being raised, and I hope we keep them on that level of, outside the dirty politics, because it's people's lives, it's us, our citizens at stake. Right. So we look forward.
For me, listening to Mr. Chirmanting's address on GTV that evening, what stood out for me was not the bigger plans. It was the little things that we could do in our own small way. When he talked about every family being encouraged to own a farm.
Yes, own a farm.
That was a very, telling thing for me, because I'm remembering my brother has converted my grass, part of my green grass, my green belt in the house, into a farm. And he's sown onions. He says he wants okra in there. He also says he wants tomatoes and peppers. And I'm looking, I said, do you know how much I spent on this grass? He says, yeah, but the grass is not bringing you anything. But if we have a farm, and that's a concept that when Mr. Chirmanting raised, I found quite impressive. A lot of people are going into farming, young people, fish farming, freshwater farming, and what have you. So agriculture is the way to go. And the agric minister is also running. So all his ideas about planting for food and jobs and all those things will come to bear. Of course, Alan Chirmanting has his one district, one factory, so a whole, industrialization drive going on. He also has plans for digitalization, which largely has been the forte of the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. So it seems like there's a lot at play here. Nache, what do you think?
Well, so let me start by saying that the man, Alan, I think has enjoyed some very good name in the Ghanaian media space. You'd hardly hear bad things associated with him. Maybe I have not followed. And then I'm also young, but then it was a 2007, 2008,
when he left.
Before the 2008 election, I think the name Alan K was like a household name. And I asked my mom, like, who is Alan? So I was thinking someone who is just coming out to share money. I mean, then
cash for the people.
Cash for the people. And I'm thinking that if it's the same energy that he's bringing on board, then that's a step in the right direction. But I'm also worried that hopefully this race doesn't become a two-horse race that it has always been for most political parties. I see Alan Cash and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia fronting, and either of them emerging as winner. As to how it will go, I think too early.
So you're not giving the great minister a potential at this being one of the two?
Maybe let me be emphatic. No.
Okay.
Yes.
Kennedy
not
Agyapong.
So I think. Anyway, and you've seen him also concede defeat to the current sitting presidents at their primaries. I think about two times, with the hope that a bedroom is so. And so I think he's also living with it's my time. A dream is so.
I mean, even the address had a little jingle underneath it, which had the line "A drew so."
So
yes. He thinks, or his campaign thinks, it's his time.
It's his time, yes. But that's what it is. His time. Of course, we are not those people. Yes, but you see, for us as Ghanaians, for us three of us here, who wouldn't have the chance to actually choose a flag bearer, we therefore count on the NPP and the NDC, those who vote at their presidential primaries, to give us someone who would actually transform the fortunes of this country. Because you wouldn't have the chance. You can only go and cover the presidential primaries. I can only sit in the comfort of my home and watch television. Akosia will do same. But these are the people who translate into our presidents. And then we come back here to talk about them. So the plea to the two political parties ahead of their presidential primaries is just one. That they give us somebody that when we go to we see the person on the ballot paper and okay, this is the person who has the ideas, who has actually the experience, to try. It shouldn't be, mere words. I'll do this, I'll do that. I was telling Kafi the other time that, see, politicians, they'll bring you a menu and say that on my menu I have jollof rice. On my menu I have GTP. On my menu I have this. On my menu I have this. Okay, so I want the GTP that you are talking about. And they'll come and serve you something different. That's what politicians have served us.
What you put on the menu.
Serve what is on the menu.
You said there's
if you tell us that one district will have one factory, you put it on the menu. You said, okay, good to go. So serve us that.
Now, Trey, speaking passionately, we are going to be connecting to another Alan on the trail, not a campaign one, social issues one. Daryl Alantego is our guy on the ground. He's bringing us some results. Are you? Alan, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Elmer, and thank you very much for joining us. We're in Sakama, Ablekuma North Municipal Assembly to be precise. Elmer, I'm standing on a train on which I reported first in 2001 and in 2021. And in 2022, I filed two
on which I reported first in 2001 and in 2021, and in 2022 I filed two different reports from the same spot. In my first report, I connected with the assembly person for this assembly or electoral area who lamented and spoke out of pain for what this is and the cost to those who own vehicles in this area and how that impedes the free flow of traffic. I followed up in 2022 with several calls to the Municipal Assembly. I had the opportunity as well to speak to the MCE for the area, Kofi Fori, at the time I spoke to in 2021, 2022. Thankfully, today I can stand on this drain and confidently report that the many vehicle owners who will avoid using this particular spot or the one behind me, which would afford them a shorter traffic drive from Dansuman and parts of Mataheko to connect to the Malam Odoko Highway. Now they can do so freely without any fear. And the sad aspect of that is when they drive at night. It really becomes almost impossible to drive at night if you're driving through here. There were three major issues here throughout our report. The first were these two drains that are almost impassable. But the critical one which posed a danger to school kids further ahead still persists. Let us seize the opportunity to thank the Assembly for heeding to our call and also responding to the many who live here who cried out for help, and they have done it. At least in 2023, we see results for those who drive here. There is, however, one appeal still outstanding, and that is what we are going to bring to you. And we are pleading with the MCE, Kofi Fori, once again, too, as he's begun and working, will do his best to ensure that this gets fixed so that at least for the safety of school children, you see a car trying to avoid that and then another man walking just next to it. It's a very dangerous thing to have in your neighborhood. This is definitely a threat. Despite the solution behind us, this still exists or persists, and will plead with the Municipal Assembly, possibly the MP for Ablekuma North, to collaborate with the MCE and the Electoral Areas Assembly member to have this fixed in the shortest possible time. And when they do, keep an eye, will by all means not relent to come around and tell the world that once again results has been found. I wanted earlier to speak to the assembly member. I made a call to them, but they are not around this morning, and so we're unable to speak to them. You will find in our previous report members of the community around that they comment on this. I have a man standing by. Let me find out from him what he knows about this and whether or not in the past this has been a dangerous thing as we perceive it or see it to him. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and how are you?
I am blessed by the mercies of God. How are you too?
I'm wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you live in this neighborhood?
My church is close to this neighborhood, yeah.
Your church is close by. This has been here for well over 2 years. I have filed 3 different reports, today making it 4. How has this continued to affect you?
Actually, this was a slight thing that can be prevented earlier in time. But it sounds that they left their eyes over it for some time. But I presuppose that right now I'm close to the place, I will ensure that instantly it is done.
Right. If you look further up, we had open drains which were affecting drivers. You have every now and then a driver gets stuck in there, and the area boys would mobilize and pull them out. The ones that's just been covered in our previous reports, we covered both of them, and I've just walked away from there. This has been there as long as this also has been, but we have the MCE and the assembly member, and I've called out the MP this morning to collaborate. What will you say to these?
I might say that this needs an instant, action. Because it was just a small thing. I could best remember last year when I was going to church. It was just something very small. But it's been neglected for far too long. Right. I don't know. There may be a special reason anyway. But at least this needs immediate action.
You mentioned your church is close, but you didn't tell me the name of your church.
Oh, Ethereum Mission.
Oh, Ethereum, just down the road from here. I know Ethereum very well.
I fly this area almost every time.
Okay.
So this is very dangerous, actually. It needs instant. I mean, you shouldn't click an eye on it. Trust me.
Thank you very much. My camera person is just past the question. So let's see. Will your church be in a position to collaborate with the assembly to have this fixed?
100%. I can even individually, get something to start it.
Shall we seize the opportunity then to ask you to write to the Municipal Assembly and inform them of your plans to fixing this, to bring some peace and also comfort to the members of this community?
Tomorrow we are having a very important program in church, and I'll make sure that I mention it and we can start it tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much, Reverend. And so that has been the head pastor of the Ethereum Mission Church around here. He's giving us his word on national television that he is going to get something done tomorrow. Keep an eye. We'll keep an eye. And whenever this is done, we'll bring you the report having seen the first 2 sorted. Thank you so very much, Thelma, for coming to us. As always, I have been your chief laborer, Daryl Allen Tego.
Listen, Alan, it looks like a bomb landed on that road, or something, burst out, or I have no words to describe it. But thank you for bringing that report to us. It's baffling for me, knowing that we've been there 3 times. This is the 4th time. And the hole just keeps widening because nothing is being done about it. Alan, do we know exactly which jurisdiction should be in charge of this area? Is it the Accra Metropolitan? Is it Ablekuma North, South, Central? Who exactly should we call and send this tape to, do you think?
Interestingly, Thelma, I have, this is in the Ablekuma North Municipal Assembly, and so it would be under the bigger Ablekuma North constituency, and then it is under the AMA. And so we have all these statutory bodies who should be responsible for this drain. Our findings shows that this caved in only a few weeks after this drain had been commissioned. Wow. And it was as a result of a tipper truck carrying sand, driving over it, and then this giving way. Obviously, I am not a civil engineer, so I would not necessarily go out of my way to speculate. But you can say that perhaps if this had been done very well, a tipper truck driving over should not leave this in this state. Remember, it was constructed using the taxpayers' money. And so, if for nothing, the threat that it poses to people who live in this neighborhood should have been priority, and that something be done. We're grateful school children are currently not in school in the fullest of its meaning. The schools have reopened, but some schools around this neighborhood are not in full session. Else you would have seen school children also walking past. And what you saw earlier with the man walking along this edge, you sometimes also see school children walking along this edge. And as curious as school children are and as playful as they can be sometimes, your imagination will be best served if you try imagining what a child would have done if 1, 2, or 3 of them try to walk along this edge. Chances are one may be tempted to try pushing the other. And with the iron rod sticking out, only, God knows what can happen when such a situation occurs. We're still waiting. The head pastor of the Etheren Church has promised to get something done about this tomorrow morning. I promised viewers that Monday morning, Daryl Alantego would pass by to see if at least some work has started according to what the pastor had said. That much I can assure viewers. And it is not only on the Etheren Church, but it will also be up to the MCE, the MP, and the current assembly member to ensure that at least members of this community can be guaranteed some safety. Because again, when you're walking around here, there's no light. If it is not light coming from somebody's house, there is no light. And so if you're new and you're driving on this road for the very first time, chances are you'll end up on this. This clearly is not safe. We applaud them for the results on the main road, but this also matters.
Alan, thank you so much for doing the Lord's work and bringing that to our attention, that Sacramento area needing immediate intervention before the unexpected happens and that drain needs to be shut. Ladies, I mean, it brings back bad memories of when I was told in the 80s or 90s, 13 children fell into a well somewhere in the Bukom area, and till date that house is still referred to as 13 children at Akutolante because they fell into an underground well and they had to mount an extensive campaign, including rituals, to bring the bodies of these children out. Imagine if anyone, yes, all of them. Imagine if anyone falls into, and can we bring that contractor to order? You cannot do this kind of work and take Ghana's money that we need for now debt sustainability and stuff. Listen, you can't do this kind of work and that happens. The tipper driver should be found. I don't know how they're going to find him now because he's probably gone. But this can't continue.
And so, Thelma, you see, let us start from even with no lights on the road as a driver. And told me I don't like driving at night because I'm not a very good one.
Some of us have 4 eyes, we still can't see.
And you see, if you're even familiar with the area, fine. But from the way I see this road, let's say you're just driving and, of course, speeding. You just land in there without even knowing. Those who are familiar with that opening
can
there,
navigate.
you know, they could navigate. But if you don't know, you were just driving and the roads, I've set time without number, our roads are too dark at night. Now, come back to the work done by the engineer and let me refer to a certain street that's similar to this in my area. And so I asked the assemblyman, why is this road still like this? And then he tells me, when I went to the assembly, this road has been constructed
Hey.
in the papers of the assembly.
Wow.
Ghost road.
You know? And so it won't shock me at all for Daryl to go to the assembly and he would be told that this road, the work done, contractor paid. I mean, it has been fixed and the contractor had been paid full amount and then he's gone his way. I won't be surprised at all. And I'm also thinking that in as much as we want people to do corporate social responsibility and
The church wants to fix
to do
this.
some of these things, that part is actually government property. So you need a certain kind of authorization to even touch these physical structures. I can't say that because National Theatre has a crack, as naturally I'm going to fix the crack.
Patriotic citizen.
No, but what I'm saying is that you need a certain authorization to do that. And so if I don't know if the assembly is available to actually give
Trust
the church.
Alan, I'm sure he would follow up and
to
then
do that.
perhaps try to get some answers.
I'll
Akusa, let
be
me pick your
interested.
thoughts quickly. There's an issue that developed at dawn today. It's also an accident in the Central Region area. Corresponding to Standing By. Your quick reaction to this Alan's video.
Yeah.
And let's
Yeah,
let's go
definitely.
to
I mean, I
Central.
think it's good that we are calling attention to this, and this is the 4th time. And like she said, it's actually shouldn't necessarily be. Not even necessarily. That's not the responsibility of the pastor of the church over there. You know, that's like you're saying, it's corporate social responsibility, but that's not necessarily their responsibility, and it's because also of the resources that needs to be harnessed to fix it. If someone is going to do this out of a gesture, are they going to be able to raise enough funding to do the work that will make sure it's sustainable? Because this one was even government commissioned, and see the quality of it, so this actually then requires the MC coming in. Yes, they can do that, but they can offer, but we shouldn't see it as this is their work to do, because resources need to be harnessed, and actually if we could all just do the roads ourselves, we won't be sitting here waiting. But we can't. You need the resources. You need things to be
certain
done.
level of expertise.
Yes, because that's what is also city and town planning. This has to be sustainable for 50 years. This is not something you're just doing just to cover and then go again. No, it has to be sustainable.
Thelma, if God forbid a kid falls in today, tomorrow it will be fixed.
Thank you.
That's what we are waiting for.
Why are we waiting for a disaster?
Sad that I actually agree with you. It's such a sad development, and we are going to have to caution our viewers, so viewer discretion is advised for this next interview. We've heard reports that at dawn today there was an accident on the Cape Coast side of the road, particularly at Gomoa and Tiazi, and our correspondent Kofi Sachama Pobi will be sharing some details with us. I must caution you that some of these visuals may be disturbing, so as we speak to Kofi, you may want to take some caution, and we apologize for if you find some of those videos disturbing. But Kofi has joined us now. Kofi, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Happy New Year. Very much happy.
A very happy New Year to you as well. It's not a very happy time for those who have been involved in this accident. Exactly where is this happening? For those of us who lack the geographic, pinpoint to exactly where we are talking about.
Yes, thank you very much. As you rightly indicated in your intro, it is from the Cape Coast end to Accra. So the minivan with registration number GW 792022 was traveling from Mankasim to Accra, and the incident occurred at Gomoa and Tazi. Gomoa and Tazi is on that stretch before you get to Apam Junction. That is where Gomoa and Tazi is. So that is where exactly.
Where are the occupants of the vehicle? Are people safe? Have we lost any lives?
Yes. According to the Ghana Fire Service, I spoke to the PRO Abdul Usu Hudu, who tells me that they had an SOS call from a passerby at dawn. So quickly, they were able to dispatch the team, the fire service team from Apam. And the Ghana Ambulance Service team was also on site at 2 a.m. This dawn to the area. When they got there, 7 people have already lost their lives. They were able to rescue 8 of them who were trapped. Because when you look at the videos, you could see that they were trapped and they were trying to force them open. So now all the injured who were severely injured has been taken to Apam Hospital, while the 7 people who died on the spot is now in the custody of the Ghana Police Service, pending further investigations and autopsy.
So has the site of the accident been cleared to make sure that it is safe for other road users and not to cause another accident?
Yes, the fire service team and then the police were there at dawn. They are still around, making sure that, as you said, so that it will not cause more havoc. So since when I left, they were there handling the situation, making sure that traffic flows. And then the car, because it veered off the road, it did not cause much havoc to the road itself. According to the eyewitness, the driver was seen to be dozing off. That caused the accident. So he veered off the road, somersaulted several times into the bushes. That caused the accident. So for now, the road is free. The police, MTTD are there, and they are making sure that there's free flow of traffic.
Kofi, what's the process for identifying these people who have been injured? Because I'm sure that the families need to be contacted, and those who have lost their lives also need some form of identification to help relocate them with their families.
So now the information that we are gathering from the National Fire Service is that all the injured who got injured, the 8 persons on board who were rescued by the team have been sent to Apam Hospital. So we are using our medium to educate, to inform the public that if a colleague, a friend, a family member was traveling from Mankesim, that was yesterday at dawn, to Accra, with a mini Sprinter bus with registration number GW 792022. Please contact the Apam, go to Apam Hospital to identify whether you have a family member, a friend, or what have you in that gory accident that happened. But for now, those who died, the police have taken custody of it. We'll also be following up and see where they have been taken to. So these are the information that we are giving to the public using our medium at TBC News.
So, Kofi, just to clarify, did the car veer off the road or did it collide with another vehicle head-on?
According to the eyewitness who gave us the SOS call, the car veered off the road. That is where we are anticipating that if the car veers off the road, it means that either somebody carelessly maneuvered his way through or he was dozing off. So for now, the police has not come out with any findings or reasons why the accident occurred. But from the eyewitness's point of view, the driver was dozing off and he veered off the road, somersaulting, causing the accident.
Right, Kofi, thank you for sharing
before
the
updates. You don't know that today is 3 years exactly when the Dopati accident happened during the same stretch on the road, Accra Coast Road, where we lost about 34 lives and 56 people were injured.
Is it a hotspot then, Kofi? Would you describe it as such? We might try to find some officials from the road sector to verify. But from your perspective, would you describe the spot as an accident hotspot?
Definitely, because if you travel from Accra to Cape Coast or to Takoradi, you realize that the Road Safety Commission themselves, together with the MPCD, have put in signs. You know, that stretch of road is full of curves. So when you get there, you see signs being erected there. 13 people perished at this moment.
I've seen those signs.
Yes, have you seen those signs? So it is just a warning sign for all of us, both motorists, commuters, and what have you. But the point is that are we taking a clue from those things? How are we learning that people died there, yet people still overtake on that curvy, bumpy road? So that has been an issue. I was listening to your panel members when you were discussing about darkness on our road. It is something that we all need to come together and solve that challenge, because people cannot even drive at night.
Kofi, I haven't been on the Cape Coast stretch the past 3 months or so, but is illumination any better? Are there better lights on the roads which would advise people on what's ahead of them on that stretch of the road? Is it better lit these days?
Yes, I've seen some of the lighting system by some of the assembly people, whether it was done by the assembly or not, at the stretch, some of the stretches, where you see solar. They have now erected solar lighting system. But for me, it is not enough. Seriously, it is not enough. The darkness on our roads is so sad, it's so bad that something I cannot even contend with. That what is our city engineers doing? What are the assemblies doing? What are the authorities who have been given the mandate to provide this? And when you watch on your card, especially when you go and buy your card and the bill comes, we pay for street lighting system. Who should make sure that street lights have been provided so that with this needless accident? Just about 2 weeks ago, there was an incident just on the way on the what do you call it, the Elmina stretch. You know that getting closer to the sea, there's a seaside where you are getting to Adabazi and those areas to Elmina. So once there's no lighting system, there was a parked vehicle and somebody just collided with a parked vehicle. So it tells you how serious the lighting system, the darkness that we are facing as the people. It is not just the central region, it's all over Ghana. So we are using medium to appeal to the authorities to make sure that they should provide lighting system on our roads. It is becoming far dangerous. And I think that we need to hammer on this issue very, very, very well, because you are traveling. There are breadwinners who have lost their lives this morning. This is sad enough.
Kofi, thank you. I would have asked if you thought the road could have benefited from perhaps rails, but we know what people have done to the rails along our highways, and perhaps we'll put that question to somebody who's in a better position to respond to the claims. But keep us informed on the recovery of these 8 persons who have been sent to the APAM General Hospital, and then our thoughts and well wishes to the injured as well, and the families of those who have lost their lives, who would wake up sometime today to the sorry news that they've lost loved ones. Kofi, thank you so much for sharing those details with us. Our Central Regional Correspondent, Kofi Sechiama-Pobi, talking to us about an accident at dawn today in the Central Region, particularly in the Gomwa and Tazi area, where 7 lives have been lost at dawn today. 8 people injured who have been freed from the trapped vehicle which somersaulted on the road. They've been sent to the APAM General Hospital. The number of the vehicle is GW797022. It was a minivan traveling towards Accra from the Cape Coast side of the road. We are told by an eyewitness that the driver may have dozed off for a few seconds, and that is what caused the vehicle to veer off the road and somersaulted into the car. 7 lives lost at the same stretch of road where 3 years ago several more lives were lost. So our condolences to the bereaved families. Ladies, we've had to not show all the videos that was sent to us. So what we put on air was the one where the fire service was trying to cut into the vehicle to bring some people out, because the rest of the footage was just, not morning TV friendly. But again, here we are. 7 lives lost. 8 of them were trapped, and we are told they are receiving care at APAM Hospital. Your thoughts?
And told me, Thelma, if I would travel long distance, I do very established transport services. I'm not saying those don't get involved in accidents, but I think the likelihoods are very less. I do that because you'd have 2 or more drivers on board. The driver and what we popularly call the mate is also a driver. And so when one is tired, he parks or she parks, and then the other gets on board and ensures that we are safely at our destination. I think also that these drivers are more money conscious than life conscious. And so they would want to make, of course, meet their daily sales or their weekly sales. And after making the sales, they can't even be bothered about the condition of the cars in which they put people. And I also think that they trust themselves so much that I can go to Accra and Kumasi and come 100 times a day. I mean, they've been saying it. You understand what I mean? It is not just about you. It is about the 30, 40 lives that you have in your car, who of course are breadwinners, and you can't risk their, if it's just yours you want to risk, of course go ahead and risk, we'll bury you, but don't risk the life of those in the van.
Right.
And so condolences to the families who've lost their beloved.
Thoughts on
But
this?
yeah, it is
I
well.
mean, and they are yet to release the statement though, and exactly why. So I think we should wait to see to know. But I mean, it's always sad whenever you hear news of people losing their lives with cross-regional travel, because we are supposed to be able to do cross-regional travel easily, safely, you know. And me, I'm always afraid whenever my family wants to come to Accra or go out. I'm always afraid. I always now say fly, but now the costs with flying too have now shot up in ways, you know, and sometimes it's just worrying. It's just worrying. So I guess we wait to see what happened, and condolences to the family. It's really, really sad news, and may we have less and less of these unfortunate incidents and disasters.
I mean, the year is too young
Yes,
for this.
it's too young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes,
ladies, so we have 2 minutes to get out of here. I want to still talk about this Nigeria unmarried pregnant officers issue.
Okay.
So there's a court that has struck out a police regulation which forbids unmarried female officers from getting pregnant.
Officers.
Getting pregnant. So if you're not married, you can't get pregnant in the Nigeria Police Service.
Why?
The court says throw that rule in a bin. 30 seconds. What do we think?
I think the court's decision is right. The fact that I'm not married doesn't mean I shouldn't get pregnant. I mean that's what, and that getting pregnant is not also a sufficient condition for you to get me out of the service. I mean, if I'm being productive, I'm giving my
So it's
due.
discrimination.
It's discrimination to say that. See, Thelma, how many women can wait to get married? How many women?
Who are they to decide what a woman should do with their womb? First of all, who are they? In the bin? 100% quiet. That's all.
100%
In trash. Yes. Yeah. Like,
Ladies, thank you so much. Akosia Hansen is an artistic activist, writer, and creator of the graphic novel series. And now Atre Niokwe is a communications expert, and they've been sharing their thoughts with us on the headline segment on GTV Breakfast. Massive birthday shouts from Comfort and all the staff at the GBC canteen.